a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, hitting cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Kadagi to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. Hey, we discuss local, national, Native news and events, and as you know, Chujunk, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
Yes, you are right, Dega, and this portion of the show is supported by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Awesome. Hey, we are here with our friend Robert Lilligren, who's let's get the title right. Okay. He is the president and CEO of Native American Community Development Institute, NAC.
Very good.
One in a row, Robert. One in a row. I should have practiced. We haven't had you on in a couple weeks, and so much has happened. I'm glad you're on for most of the show today because we have a lot to talk about. Welcome.
Thanks, Buju Robert, Buju Haley. It's always good to be here.
Yeah, well, let's jump into it. You were up there relaxing up in the deep north, and all heck broke loose here all here in the 50 states.
It was crazy. So I was in a very serene and sort of spiritual spot on the shores of Gitchagami, Lake Superior, and then all this news started to pop all around me, and it was around us, and it's really something. And I'm sure we haven't talked for a while, so I'm guessing the big news you're referring to is President Biden stepping aside and supporting Vice President Harris as the Democratic nominee. And I was actually up just north of Grand Marais, Minnesota, which is on what we call the North Shore, the shore of Lake Superior. And there's this little sort of remnants of what was a native village there. And there's a little clapboard church. I think they call it Chippewa Church or something like that. And, it used to be kind of dilapidated. And now they've been fixing it up and investing. And it was actually open for tours. I've never seen it open before. So stopped in, and it's tiny little church. But that's where I was when the news broke. I started to get texts like crazy about the change, and it was really something.
Well, the governor of Minnesota has kind of gotten a name out there too with his CNN interview, calling these people just weird, and we know exactly as Minnesotans what he's talking about. But also, with things shaking out, who knows? We might have a Native American governor down the road here.
Fingers crossed, right? And I could show you my text within moments of hearing the news of Biden stepping aside and Harris stepping in as the nominee. I was texting people, and I go, "Yep, it's going to be Governor Walz. He's going to be the vice president." And he just makes so much sense. I mean, he has, some things on the deficit side, but I think he brings a lot more to the ticket. But that's what I was texting him. And then Peggy Flanagan, our Ojibwe sister, will be our governor, and I can't wait.
Well, she's already the highest Native American elected official, governmental official in the United States. So why not?
Why not, right? And she's been preparing for this for her whole adult life, and I just think she'd be an excellent governor, so authentic, so true to the people, much like Governor Walz, for sure. And people around me were like, "Oh yeah, that's not going to happen. Why would they pick Walz? We're already going to be a blue state. We're not at play. We don't bring that many electoral votes into the mix." But Walz just brings this identity as kind of the folksy Midwesterner, but he's also very direct, right? And he has an incredible record of progressive legislation that he can lift up, and he's great. He's known for working across the aisle, and I just think he brings a lot. I think he brings a lot to the table.
Let's talk a little bit about him. When the governor and lieutenant governor first ran, it was at the Indian Center when they talked about, or when they announced it, which is
Right.
so cool. And then also, Lieutenant Governor, or the governor was the lieutenant governor's pupil in the Wellstone uh,
Right.
teaching group.
Right. So our beloved late Senator Paul Wellstone they established an institute sort of in his name, Wellstone Action, and it taught people to organize, and amongst other things, it taught people how to be candidates. And
Hmm.
Peggy was an instructor there. Peggy Flanagan, no, Lieutenant Governor Flanagan, was an instructor at Wellstone Action, and Governor Waltz, before that, Tim Waltz was in her class, and so she instructed him on how to be a candidate. And I'll tell you, when I was on city council, I served with 2 or 3 other city council members who were students of Peggy's as well. And so she excuse me, obviously really knew her stuff and could really train people up to be candidates. And I remember that historic day when Tim Waltz and Peggy Flanagan came to the Minneapolis American Indian Center. I think you
Yeah.
and I were standing shoulder to shoulder
Yep.
at that event, and that's where they kicked off their campaign, their first campaign for
Right.
governor. And it was just such a proud moment. And I care deeply about our lieutenant governor and have watched and supported her political career. And I remember I was standing there. I think I might have even said this to you. I said, I need to hear the words co-governing.
Yes.
That they're going to be co-governing. And I said, if I don't hear them, I'm going to talk to Peggy. I want to hear that. And
Yeah.
sure enough, they both said it. Governor Waltz, or then candidate Waltz, said it first. But they really had this idea of co-governing, and I think they really delivered on it.
Yeah, I do remember that. And what's interesting too, Governor Walz was also, was he a representative too, or a senator? What from
He was a congressman.
Congressman? Thank you. And he also
Yeah,
was a
in
high school
Minnesota's in Minnesota's first congressional district, which is kind of the strip at the southernmost part of the state, a very, very Republican district. And I
Mhm.
think he really showed something by gaining that seat. And it just
Yeah.
was, he's a genuine guy. He meets people where they're at, and he makes people
Mhm.
feel comfortable, right? All
Yeah.
great attributes for a vice presidential candidate.
Well, I know Haley, she was impressed because when Haley started working with us here on Native Roots Radio, the governor called me by my first and last name and asked how Wendy was. And so I was hobnobbing with the big shots. I got to get a quick selfie just in case he becomes vice president.
You are always hobnobbing with the big shots, Robert. So that
I
doesn't
tell him I know
surprise
Robert
you.
I tell him I know Robert Lilligren.
All right. Right. Well, that's one of the things I've been saying to my circle. When Governor Waltz becomes Vice President Waltz and Lieutenant Governor Flanagan becomes Governor Flanagan, we'll have direct access to both the governor and the vice president. And how often does that happen for Native folks?
Yeah, I hope the lieutenant governor doesn't change your phone number because I use it very sparingly. And no, I'm just, but yeah, excitement galore. And also, we had both Lieutenant Governor Flanagan and Lieutenant Governor Rodriguez on Monday's show, and that was dynamite. And we started the week off with some really political talk, and we're going to be ending it tomorrow with State Senator Mary Kunish. But I always, even when we're 2 hours on Saturdays, really, really enjoy talking politics with you, Robert. And
Back at you. And as we kind of wrap up this Governor Waltz conversation, or maybe we won't wrap it up, but Waltz as a vice presidential candidate, we'll know soon, right? We'll know in just the next few days, which will be great. But there was a little bubble floated out of the Harris campaign that really echoed this kind of co-governing model that Waltz and Flanagan really lifted up. And I thought, wow, that's really close to Walt's language. So I'm taking that as a sign that Waltz is penetrating that campaign messaging at the Harris camp.
Hey, we'll be right back. Our camera's frozen. Thank you, Haley, because I still think it's 5:08, and we'll be right back after this short break. Ooh, stay with us.
When we heal from our traumas.
When we face our fears.
Let go of our addictions.
When we relearn our values.
When we live our teachings.
Respecting our elders.
Cherishing and honoring our children.
When we honor and take care of our spirit.
There will be no room left for sexual violence.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hi, it's Robert Pilot from Native Roots Radio. If you need new windows for your home or business, I highly recommend 952 Windows. They offer windows and doors with the longest warranties and Energy Star's #1 most efficient ratings. I can personally vouch for them, having known the owner for decades. They did a fantastic job on our second floor addition 20 years ago, installing windows, roofing, siding, and even adding a master bedroom and bathroom. 952 Windows is part of Loyal Home, founded by some of the Ethics award-winning former Window Light employees. In my opinion, they're one of the most best-kept secrets in remodeling. As Onyx Bath and Rosebud cabinet dealers, 952 Windows guarantees top-quality products. Most of their business comes from referrals, so much so that they have been called the best-kept secret in remodeling by their competitors. For unbeatable deals and trusted service on windows, doors, roofing, siding, kitchens, bathrooms, and more, call 952 Windows or visit 952windows.com.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, could potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Representative Sharice Davids from Kansas. I'm Ho Chunk, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Native American Community Development Institute, or NACD, in Minneapolis.
Hey, we are here with Robert Lilligren, our Thursday guest. And, you know, I just was thinking back to our conversations when we were a 2-hour show on Saturdays, the conversations we had before we recorded our segment. And I just got to give you a big thank you, a big peenie for being able to transfer this to daily the last 3 years. And I couldn't do this show 5 days a week if it wasn't for great content that you bring along and our other guests. And I just want to, I was thinking about that. I just want to say a big peenie. It's so important. And Haley and I are in the community and hear how important this show is to the community. And as you know, we go all over I go all over the country, and I hear people listening to the show, not because of me, but because of really great content that you bring in and knowledge, Robert. So a big peenie, thank you so much.
No, thanks to you and Haley for your work. And it's fun, you know, it's amazing to me how many people say, oh yeah, I was listening to Native Roots Radio, or, you know, I heard you on the radio and you said XYZ, and they want to follow up. I'm like, wow, we have listeners, we have fans.
Yeah, yes, we do. And it's always, especially at the old AM 950, when we were at the AM 950 studio, and it's in the basement of the studio. And it's just like, I'm talking into a microphone and I don't know where this is going. But then we get out in community like you are and Haley and I, and it's like we hear about it. And again, a big peenie, thank you. I got to tell you a story quick, Robert, and get a comment. So when this switched, when Joe, you know, I gave up the election and then turned it to Vice President Harris, I was worried. And the worry, it only lasted like 5 or 6 hours when I started watching TikTok and all the great stuff that was happening. And then all the people that came across and supported Vice President Harris. And we didn't have a repeat, and you and I love history, we didn't have a repeat of 1968 Chicago Convention.
Right. That idea of an open convention. And you know, that's a bit of a concern. I think technically it might still be considered an open convention, but clearly Vice President Harris has the support and the delegates to gain the nomination. And now it becomes very technical, right? It's kind of rulesy, and as we lead up to her actual endorsement and nomination, and But yeah, no, the minute I heard it, I got to tell you, Robert, I was elated. I had no worry at all. It was just like, it felt like a huge weight was lifted off, in all respect and gratitude to President Biden. I mean, he's just had an amazing career and done amazing things, and then did this kind of selfless act, right, of stepping aside when he didn't really have to. But I have a hunch that President Biden had to be shown multiple paths for Harris to win before he would be comfortable stepping aside. And so I've seen a little bit of analysis. There's something they call the Great Lakes path to victory, and it's where the Great Lakes states all go for Harris, and she can get to the Electoral College victory. Then there's what's called the Sun Belt.
Oh, we just lost Robert.
Well, it's lightning and thunder happening all over the place. Hey, I just want to remind everyone too that we're streaming on all social media, and we're back on X. Once Haley and I heard that the owner of X wasn't giving the orange one $45 million a day, we went back on it. So good job on that, Haley. We're picking up steam again. We were getting a lot of people watching us on X, and what my next question to Robert when he comes back on was just again, I'll have this conversation with you, Haley. Is that I was like watching TikTok when I started feeling better, and then I'm feeling better about my job too, which is really weird. My real job, not my fake radio job. About things that can go smoother here, or smoothly again. So totally excited. Hey, Robert, are you a trickster? Did you just morph into something here?
What happened? My Google Chrome just shut down on its own. So I don't know, maybe someone's listening into our conversation and sabotage that. So I apologize for that.
Well, I was talking to Haley when you were gone for a second, and one of the things really that was really fun, I talked to Haley, and I've mentioned this many times now on the show, is that I talked to Haley the next day, and I said, oh my gosh, the Gen Zs are coming in. There's over $50 million in just a few hours. And Haley said, I donated. And I was like, wow,
good for you.
Yeah, that was the first time I've ever donated any type of dollar amount to any presidential campaign, or probably any campaign in general. But really, a lot of these donations came from people with small donations, small dollar donations. And when, we talk about a lot of Americans facing struggling with finances right now, not able to put food on the table for families, not able to get bills paid, accumulating debt because that's the only way we can pay for things right now. So when we put, $5 or $10 towards a candidate, it's really because our futures are on the line, and we would like to be able to have a president who opens up the economy for younger generations and younger people entering the workforce. And just hopefully one day Gen Z is able to buy the houses and have the families that we want and be able to afford to do that.
Beautifully put, Haley. Good for you for contributing. It's amazing. I think that big chunk into the hundreds of millions of dollars that Harris was able to raise in just the first few hours or few days of the campaign. I think the average contribution was $20.
Wow.
So it just shows you who's really, that's actual for real, like you were saying, Haley, grassroots support. And I think that's just super exciting.
Well, and then I was
excited about.
Totally. And I was going up to a bed, and Wendy said I gave 50, and I didn't really know what she meant. She said I gave $50 to the Harris campaign, and I said, right on. And we were big Bernie supporters, so whenever we heard Bernie, I think his average was something like $28 or something. Whenever we saw Bernie or saw him in person or saw him on TV, we donated $28. Nice. But now we're ready. We're ready here for the new wave here, and I am really excited. And I was telling Haley when she was gone that This has really uplifted like what I do for a real job too. I didn't know I had kind of a little gray cloud over my head until this, and I've been really kind of skipping and jumping around and thinking it might be a combination of this and some other things, but this for sure.
I agree. I felt more hopeful than I have about the political climate for years, about the future of our country. And to Haley's point, the biggest voting block coming up is young people, right? And so please, here's my request to you, Haley, and people of your generation, please save us. Please.
Yeah.
We're working on it. We will be coming in hot.
I love it.
Well,
I love it.
absolutely. And they are coming in, and it is a big thing. And even though it was maybe a lackluster Gen Z happening, that they were going to definitely take over the boomers in numbers this next election. But now it sounds like big numbers. And,
right.
you know, that also reminds me too, Robert, how important it's always been, but you know, how important and how great do we have some organization like Rock the Vote Native Style to lean on?
Agree. And getting these Native votes out. You know, we do democracy work at NACD, Native American Community Development Institute, through our Make Voting a Tradition project. And it's just super energized, and more resources are nonpartisan. We do nonpartisan work, but more resources are coming into our work. And I'm trying to remember the number, but in just a few days after the change of candidates, voter registrations had increased something like 700%.
Yes.
And that's people that weren't voting, right? Those are new voters, and that's a game changer in the outcome. And I'm like you, Haley. I'm like you, Robert. I mean, you know, as soon as it happened, I said to my husband, I said, okay, now we're going to really have to give. We're going to have to get involved. We're going to have to volunteer. You know, this is for real. This is very winnable.
Yeah. And one of the things too, I don't remember what the statistics was, but when you said we have to help out, and there was a big landslide of people signing up to help too in the beginning of this, and it's still happening.
It is. It's super exciting. And again,
so
no disrespect to President Biden. I told all respect to him, but there's a new excitement.
So we got like a minute or so left here, and I want to bring up the orange one in Chicago yesterday. And Haley and I were having a little, I guess I can't say it on air, but we were having a little chuckle. Maybe we can talk a little bit about that, absurd things that were said. And does he really want to win the presidency? Like,
doesn't seem like it. It seems like he's narrowing his base of support every day. And it's like, keep it up. And he's just trying to pull the attention back to him, right? And pull the news cycle back to himself. But I don't think it's going to work.
No, I don't. I feel good. I felt good with Biden, but now I feel great. Hey, this is Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and we'll be right back with Robert Lilligren and Haley Cherry. Ho-wah! Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States.
And 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected.
Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf.
Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy.
As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired.
Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl. J&S Bean Factory is a Native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Bonjour, hello. My name is Wabin. I am an enrolled member of the White Earth Nation, descendant of the Navajo Nation, and co-chair of the Indigenous Employee Resource Group with the Minnesota Department of Transportation. MnDOT is hiring for a variety of positions from road maintenance to accounting and more. We offer great benefits. For more information or to set up a one-on-one resume and application assistance, visit mn.gov/careers, or you can text or call 612-257-2388. 612-257-2388.
It will be back to school before you know it, making this a great time to help your child get up to date on all their immunizations, including the MMR vaccine. The MMR vaccine is safe and effective and is the best way to protect your child from measles. Hennepin County Public Health is hosting free vaccine clinics for children ages 0 through 18 this summer and fall. No registration is necessary. Our next vaccine clinic is on Friday, August 2nd at Centro Tyrone Guzman in Minneapolis. Learn more by visiting hennepin.us/immunizations.
AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
At Better Futures Minnesota, we support Minnesota's environment by working towards zero waste and the transformation of the lives of men in our workforce development model. Better Futures Minnesota engages men with histories of incarceration and homelessness. Our approach reaffirms each man's dignity, instilling self-discipline and behaviors that empower them to achieve self-sufficiency and a better future. We set hard-to-employ men on a pathway to independence through employment in our reuse retail warehouse and work crews specializing in building deconstruction, property maintenance, appliance recycling, and janitorial services. We strive to create a sustainable future where social equity, economic opportunity, and environmental justice intersect. By addressing these interconnected challenges, Better Futures Minnesota works towards building resilient, healthy communities for all Minnesotans. We believe that true sustainability can only be achieved when all members of our community can thrive. Join us in making a difference. Visit us at betterfuturesminnesota.com and donate today.
Are your remote workers putting your company at risk? Not sure what steps to take to secure your data? Hi, Mark Sommerfeld from Rymark. The Rymark team is guiding our clients through these difficult times. In fact, demand has been so high, we created an easy-to-follow guide with the 5 steps to securely work from home. It's yours free. Download our 5 steps to securely work from home now at rymarkit.com or call 651-328-8900 for a no-cost how-to discussion.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Clearing skies tonight with a low of 66, then hot sunshine Friday with a high of 90. For more than 40 years, the Great Wall Restaurant has been serving up Szechuan and Mandarin favorites. The Great Wall is located just north of 50th in France on the Minneapolis-Edina City line. Check them out at greatwallrestaurant.us.
You're listening to Native Roots Radio. This is Spirit from Reservation Dogs. Get up and listen.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Native-owned J.S. Bean Factory off Randolph Avenue in St. Paul. Only the good stuff keeps us awake.
Hey, we are here with our friend Robert Lilligren, President and CEO of Native American Community Development Institute here in the Twin Cities, Minnesota. Before we get going into a dark circle here with what the orange one said yesterday, I want to talk something super positive, and we have something going on here at the gallery, All My Relations Gallery, very soon here, and I wonder if we could just talk a little bit about that, Robert.
Yeah, sure. So there's an artist. Their professional name is Jennifer White, and they put up a beautiful show. It opens on Saturday at All My Relations Arts Gallery. If you're in the city, it's right on Franklin Avenue on the American Indian Cultural Corridor, and it is stunning. It is a stunning show. It's all mounted. The gallery looks great. We have a little preview tomorrow for some funders and media, and then the big show opens on Saturday. And it's so exciting. It's kind of this haunting. I don't know if you've seen any of the images yet. Mostly Kwe, mostly women, very kind of haunting, powerful haunting images. And I'm very excited to meet the artist and to see how people was, oh, perfect. Thanks, Haley. Yeah. I mean, isn't that something? That is so striking. that painting. And so they're all kind of in that similar vein. And one of the exciting things, Angela Two Stars, the All My Relations Arts director and famous public artist in her own right. And her goal is to sell out the show, to sell every painting on the show. And I'll tell you, before we could even get the show up on the walls, they were just kind of moved around the gallery, kind of placing in them things. 3 of them have already sold before the show opens, before the paintings are even on the walls. So I encourage folks to come out. I know it's such appealing and compelling work.
Well, Haley, you're going to have to get down there because, tomorrow we're not supposed to talk about this in an Indian way, but I'm going to be at Choka here tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I'll be MIA for most of the early evening. So
yeah, I plan on attending.
Cool.
Yep,
Tomorrow night? Great.
Yep.
We'll see you there, Haley. I'll be there too. It should be really something. And it's interesting. I was in conversation with Angela Two Stars and one of our funders and kind of lifting up the work that we've done. And one thing that Angela said, and she's such a thoughtful person. I mean, she's just amazing. And she said, we really try to cater the shows to the artist's needs. And so for this artist, she is trying to lift up sort of a commercial presence, right? So selling her paintings is really important. For the last show, Frank Buffalo Hide, another stunning show, he was very interested in having museums acquire his art, and I think we were able to secure one museum, or he was, through the gallery, one museum acquisition and 2 or 3 other inquiries about acquiring his paintings for museums. And so again, it's just that idea that All My Relations Arts is a tiny little gallery, but it has had major impact on a lot of people's careers.
What a great example. And what you just said there about museums and personal collectors already swooping up on the past couple exhibits. My goodness.
Right. And even if you look at Angela Two Stars and her brilliant career, she had her first public non-student show at All My Relations Arts, one piece in a show. She participated in artist talks and things. Then we invited her back to curate the brilliant and chilling Bring Her Home series. And based on that performance, we were able to hire her as the gallery director. And since then, her career has just continued to explode in a very good way. And that's our mission, right? At NACD and at All My Relations Arts. It's developing that capacity, supporting people along their journeys. And so it's so rewarding to be part of that.
Yeah, you must be a proud uncle. I mean, seriously.
Very much.
I really, when Haley and I are in your office or in the corridor there or at Powwow Grounds, we really feel the vibe. You really do. And people are happy to be there and are on a mission that is so beautiful.
I love that. And I feel so privileged every day to go to work with these incredibly talented, mostly young Native professionals and helping them, NACD's helping them along their professional trajectories. And yeah, it's a joy.
Wow. Geez, that's awesome. And we'll be bringing that up. Haley and I will bring it up again in the last segment, but let's go back to the dark side here and talk a little bit about George one being in Chicago. The ridiculous things that he said. And thank goodness the ABC reporter did not take no for an answer and really did a great job. And I'm happy to say that because I'm very critical of the mass media.
Sure. Well, you're kind of a practitioner of it, though, too. So that's interesting. But right, Trump was interviewed at the National Black Journalists Association in Chicago, and he just said hideous, hateful, racist, outlandish things, questioning Kamala Harris's identity, racial identity, just in this kind of framework that white people have been doing for centuries, trying to impose their views of what people's identities are, define people that aren't them, and it was just vile and shocking, and it certainly is not attracting undecided voters. So keep it up. But it's really sad to see that in the national discourse anyone would say something like that, let alone a former president. And it's really, I think, helping our side.
It's an interesting point that you bring up too, because I haven't heard it a lot lately, but when I was younger, I used to hear it a lot. It's like people would just randomly go, "Well, how much Native are you?"
Oh,
It's
right,
like, what does that
right.
matter?
Yeah.
Enough to kick your. Oh, never mind.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I agree. When I was on city council, I once had a reporter, high-profile reporter in the city, shout across a restaurant, Maria's Cafe, right there in the American Indian Cultural Corridor. And he said something like, "What's your blood quantum?" or something like that. And I was like, oh my God. And he just yelled it across the restaurant. I thought that is so rude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had a similar experience with a local Twin Cities reporter, and I'm not going to say where, but she did come up to the small group of Native Americans that were in the room and asked us how much money we each get a month.
I hate questions like that. It's so ignorant.
Yeah.
But you educate, you do your best, but it does get a little tiresome.
Well, and two, we got to remind this in a good way to our listeners out there. And I've experienced visually and personally in the last month, somebody just randomly coming up and grabbing my medallion and and then there's a friend of ours, Corey Medina, who handled it. He's a musician and handled it very well. A person grabbed his ponytail. And she thought that was okay.
Yeah.
And it's just like he schooled her in the fact that we're not, white people feel privileged to do things like that, and please don't do it. And he was really calm, but it was really powerful what he said. He didn't go off, but just that, we're still here. We're not zoo animals and things like that.
Right. We're not here for your amusement.
Right. Only when we're joking around here on AM 950.
Right. Well, and I'll tell you, Robert, I just love that you said that, because one of the things I've really observed really fairly recently, maybe in the last half year or so, and I'm in groups of Native people, and we might be in policy conversations or trying to find solutions or ways to address some of our really dire needs in our community. But one thing that has really struck me lately is how much laughter is in those rooms. And to me, that just really feels very indigenous, and it feels very much like we're reclaiming our traditions, right? And that's kind of what Native people do. We laugh, right? Laughter is medicine. And even when you're dealing with very difficult circumstances, the fact that people can laugh, and I've noticed it in staff meetings, community meetings, leadership meetings, policy meetings, there's just so much laughter now. And that makes me feel really good.
Yeah, and I think, the old saying is it always gets the darkest before sunrise. And we had a dark period there during COVID, and I think we are still shaking it off. But, we just started doing things in person just last year, right?
Right. And it's almost hard. There's that time, flex that happened during COVID. And so sometimes it's hard to even remember.
Right.
But how different life was before and what life is like now. And yeah, there were good lessons to be learned through that COVID era. Still learning them.
Yeah, exactly. And I know that, in the last year, you were talking about the last 6 months, but I'll say the last year, people are so excited to get out again and really are in full force. And, the opening, we've talked about this, but the opening of the Indian Center was amazing by how many people that I haven't seen in years, or quite a few years, that were there. And it was unbelievable.
Agree. And then just how this continues to build. I don't know if you saw the recent stories about. I'm trying to look up the name of the. Oh, I lost all my tabs that were open when my Google Chrome shut down. But it's like a young Native designers camp. And they were at the Indian Center this week. There's a great story in Minnesota Public Radio about it. Sam Oblickson, who's my friend and my boss, essentially chair of our board, chair of the Indian Center board, a really renowned Native architect. But they're bringing young Native people in to learn about design, to do some practical hands-on things with the idea of in 5-10 years, whatever, building out a bench of more Native architects, more Native designers. And it's such a joyous thing to see.
Yeah. You know, we feel bad about a lot of things in our history, but we also have a lot of good things that are happening in our community, and a lot of good people rising to the occasion. And I agree, Robert. Thank you so much for bringing this to us and to our listeners.
Thank you. Miigwech, Haley, Miigwech, Robert. It's always good to be here.
We'll see you soon, Robert. That was Robert Lilligren. And hey, this is Native Roots Radio, and we'll be right back after this short break.
Stay with us. The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
The Powderhorn Art Fair is celebrating 33 years of community and local art on the weekend of August 3rd and 4th. This year's event will be the biggest yet, with a record number of artists and vendors. Over 190 local and regional artists will exhibit their work, offering diverse art from clay and digital art to jewelry and woodwork. Floral and garden vendors will bring extravagant bouquets and blooming artistry to the park. And the Powderhorn Art Fair will highlight local businesses, arts nonprofits, and eco-conscious upcycle artists. Whether you're an art enthusiast or a casual buyer, there's something for everyone. Plus, enjoy sweet and savory treats from more than 20 food trucks. There's the kid-friendly family zone, packed with creative activities. And don't miss the on-site DJ providing vibrant sounds throughout the weekend. The Powderhorn Art Fair is free to the public, with proceeds supporting PPNA community initiatives. Make plans to head to the Powderhorn Art Fair on Saturday and Sunday, August 3rd and 4th from 10 to 5 at Powderhorn Park in Minneapolis. More at powderhornartfair.com.
J&S Bean Factory is a Native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Hi, this is Governor Walz. Thank you for listening to Native Roots Radio.
This portion of the show is supported by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio. And we got a few things to talk about, but I just want to say, Haley, too, it's always so great to have our guests come in and really hit home runs with their knowledge and their background. And we're just blessed here at Native Roots Radio to be able to amplify all these great voices.
Yeah, really. I've learned so much over just the past year of being on the show from all of our guests, but, just getting to know our weekly guests over the year. It's been, it's had a huge effect on me. So I'm very grateful as well for our guests.
Yeah, right on. Hey, we got a few things going on this weekend, and we like to talk about it and get people fired up prior to it. So today's a really good day to talk about some of these things that are happening. Haley, I know there's something happening down in the Upper Sioux community.
There is, yeah, lots of really great things going on in our community during these upcoming next 2 weeks. This weekend, the Upper Sioux Community Powwow will be happening Friday through Sunday, August 2nd through 4th in Granite Falls, Minnesota. It's free admission and everyone is welcome. Grand entry times will be 7 p.m. Friday, 1 and 7 p.m. on Saturday, and 1 p.m. on Sunday.
Everyone's invited. So if you're listening to us by Granite Falls, stop in and support the vendors out there, and anything out there for sale. Always a good question, especially with the state fair coming up. Ask people who made this and what tribe are they from and where are they from, and start a conversation. And believe you me, if you ask a Native American that, they'll be proud to tell you where it is. It's the people that are stealing our art and not doing it in a good way will not be able to say who they're related to or who they're married to or any of those things.
Keep an eye out for those mass manufacturers that attend some powwows. I heard that this happens a lot in, I see it sometimes in Minnesota at powwows, but I heard it happens a lot in California and at their powwows, which is interesting. But yeah, always look for those native designed items and local vendors and ask who made it. Because sometimes, the people vending aren't the ones that made it, but they would love to tell you more about the artist.
Absolutely. And that's what we do a lot at Native Roots Trading Post, which will be at the State Fair. And we're sharing a booth out at Shakopee at their huge powwow a week before the State Fair. And Choka Pilot will be very tired at the end of that. Hey,
yeah, we're going to have some fun.
Our friends, too, at Wakan Teepee are in the east side of St. Paul are going to have their pollinator festival again in August, and I know that was super fun because they had a lot of music involved with that too last year, and it looks like they are again this year.
Yeah, I saw that same thing. So I wasn't able to attend last year, but I'm hoping to go this year. Con Teepee Awanyankapi, formerly known as Lower Fallon Creek Project, is a Native-led East Side St. Paul environmental stewardship nonprofit centered in Dakota values. And they're hosting another pollinator festival on Sunday, August 11th at Fallon Park Amphitheater from 10 to 4:30 p.m. There will be music and dancing performances by Kobe Jordan, Downtown Jada Brown, our friend, Jada Lynn, and more. And you can learn more at wakanteepee.org.
Yes. Make sure you go there. That's just a really fun. And, Wakan Teepee used to be known as Lower Phelan Creek Project on the east side of St. Paul. And then our friend Maggie Lorenz became the CEO of that and kind of changed it. And I know when I was a teacher, we brought a lot of students down there to plant plants and sage and berries and trees and things like that, because that area was by the railroad by the Mississippi River and was so polluted, and they had to bring tons and tons and tons and tons of fresh dirt down there to really reclaim it in a good way. So things are happening under her direction, and the people that are on the board and the people that work for Wakan Teepee. And they're a person that we like to have on the show and talk about their work, because it's amazing to watch a lot of great things. Like we were talking with Robert Lilligren, a lot of great things happening here. We got to keep the eye on the prize.
Yeah, very educational. I know that they do a lot of nature-led walks with talking and just giving out information about the land and what kind of native plants are growing there. So definitely check that out, Wakan Teepee in St. Paul. Our friends at the Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center are doing something new. MIWRC will be hosting a women's luncheon. 2 dates so far will be Thursday, August 8th and Thursday, the August 22nd from 12 to 2 p.m. at the MIWRC Community Room in Minneapolis. And you can learn more at Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center.
Yeah. So it's just an amazing thinking back, and I was kind of reminiscing in the beginning of the show. Haley, you've been with us over a year, and we've had Zoe Allen as a producer, and Ogama, and all. We got to take a picture with the former producers of Native Roots Radio, along with me, and just thinking of the history and the good things that we try to do here, and the community. Like Robert, it was cool to hear Robert say the community is out there listening and supporting, and so we're grateful. This is our 8th year being on the air, and I can't believe it. And it's because of the support and people supporting our sponsors, which is really, really huge. We hear about that, and we got anywhere from a window person now doing advertising on here, and we also have our friend with concrete. Give that number out again. What the heck?
Oh, yeah. Chuck Monet at Native Concrete and Masonry. You can call him at 612-597-0421. He really knows his stuff, too.
Yeah, he's was brought up into it. His father, it's handed down to his father, and it's great. True crafts people, craftsmen, craftswomen. I mean, I wouldn't know how to lay concrete down. I'd probably be heading towards my house and flooding out my house every time it rained. And we've been getting a lot of rain, so I think about these things.
Right. Yeah, it really is the community. Like, we wouldn't have all this great content if it wasn't for our guests and people boots on the ground in community. And, we just are happy to amplify the good work that's going around Indian country. And speaking of good work, last thing I want to get in here quickly, American Indian Education is supplying free backpacks and school supplies for Minneapolis American Indian students. You can pick these school supplies up for free on Monday and Tuesday, August 12th and 13th at both Minneapolis Davis Center and South High School. Again, American Indian Education will be supplying free backpacks and school supplies on the 12th and 13th.
Yeah, it's always a good thing. I know St. Paul does this, and I know the local tribes do that for their urban and Indians. And I know we do at Ho-Chunk, too. We support our youth with a nice backpack and some materials. So it's awesome that we're helping ourselves and helping others, and that's the way it should be, and that's the way it is in the Native community. So, Haley, great show again. We're on a roll here. We're on a roll here. Cross your fingers. Oh, wow. That's all right. Hey, if you're listening to the show, you're part of the resistance. From Chief Plentycoops, the ground in which we stand on. It's sacred ground. It's the blood of our ancestors. We need to resist, divest, join a group, run for office, and vote, vote, vote. We're still here. We are the 7th generation.
And free Leonard Peltier. Now.